Hello, my name is Dr. Mann. You may or may not know me from my work on the SCP Foundation. I've been writing articles and stories there for over 17 years. From deadly monsters to no-nonsense field agents to wacky misadventures, I have written a pretty broad range, and I have read so much more from others. I like to think at this point, I know a thing or two. I have reached deep in my well of knowledge, as well as done research and spoken with fellow authors to help shed some light on the SCP universe, and also the writing process that helped bring it about. Without further ado, this is a note from your doctor. This week, it's time for Q&A. Please excuse the webcam. I don't have a real camera for this, and I couldn't figure out how to get my cell phone to work without it also trying to use its not very great microphone. Hopefully for future streams I'll have a better setup. Also, forgive the mask. I'm trying to keep my identity at least a little protected. Let's start with a question from Fernlorn on YouTube. Dr. Mann, how far do you think the SCP series will go? You think there will ever be a cap? No, I don't think there will be a cap. I think there may come a day when the project fizzles out, but I can't see that happening anytime in the near future. Since the SCP-9000 contest, entries have only increased. People really love writing SCPs, and that's going to be true for a very, very long time. From Fragmented Sedimentary on YouTube, we have two questions. Firstly, what are your thoughts on the new media that's coming out, like 5K and Fragmented Minds, along with Gallionic? I think it's always cool to see someone create things in other media. SCP at its heart is about collaboration and response. Everything is in conversation with the articles that came before. Even articles like the recent Series 0 are in some ways responses to the body of lore that's grown up around the project since SCP-173, even if there's been primarily rejection of it. 1 second, I seem to have a special guest star. If I can get her here. Aha! Had to do a little bit of catfishing. Meet Margaret Perlick. Alright, I'm going to let her go and do as she will, but I had to introduce her. Second question was, and what advice would you give to an aspiring author? Write, and don't be afraid to suck. Sucking at something is, as the dog says, the first step in getting sort of good at it. Come up with an idea. Talk to other people about it. The ideas forum on the site is a good place to go for that. Listen to their feedback. If it doesn't succeed, go back to the drawing board. Once you have an idea you think is solid, keep at it. Don't make the mistake of shotgunning a dozen ideas at the side all at once and hoping something sticks. Learn to refine it, edit it. That's how you build the skills that will help you make good articles. From Balthazar on YouTube. A couple of questions here. First off, where are my man bucks I was promised? You can receive your man bucks at any participating location. Man bucks, like but legally distinct from money. Additionally, what advice do you have for fleshing out ideas from their original small seeds when they don't fit neatly into the SCP format? Figure out your hook and how it ties into the Foundation. Remember that your article is supposed to be from the Foundation's perspective. Figure out what they can see and how to get them to where the meat of your article is. If you want to go completely away from the SCP format, consider a tale. Or maybe a format from a group of interest. Maybe the Serpent's Hand has a perspective needed to really get your idea across. From DJ Draws Gent on YouTube. Dr. Mann, at what level of the cold not cruel scale do you prefer the Foundation? It varies from story to story. It depends on what the story needs. Sometimes I make the Foundation relatively nice. Other times, maybe I want them capable of hardening their hearts, but only in the face of base necessity. What's justified when it's balanced against survival of the human race? And sometimes I want to dig into the Foundation as a truly amoral organization. Remember, it's an organization made up of people, and people carry their own biases, their own desires. Even when they're not outwardly trying to do bad things, they may do them just because of their own values or lack thereof. From Calibold on Discord. Favorite dinosaur? I'm a big fan of Spinosaurus, even if we can't seem to quite nail down the specifics of the animal from year to year. That's part of what I like about it. We keep learning new things about it, testing theories, and getting a little close to the truth, even though we know we'll never fully understand it. And to me, that's the heart of science. Getting closer to the truth, even when we know that the full objective reality is not something that we can ever fully know. From Dr. Balthazar on Discord. Why you call man when you monkey? Don't make me bring out the chart showing nested clades. From Geobite on Discord. Which older SCP author would you like to see return the most? I'd really love to see Gnosis come back. He was a staff member way back from the early days of the wiki. I think SCP-078 is the only article of his that remains on the site, but he had his hand in all sorts of projects. He was one of our early tech gurus, and he could make Wikidot do things nobody else could do. I'd love to see his take on some of the new things people have done with list pages, CSS, and other wizardry. And I dismiss him. Gnosis, if you're out there, buddy, I do miss you, and I'd love to have you back. Finally, from Rogentium, however you pronounce that, it's one of the weirder ones on the elemental table. A plethora of questions. When did you first find out about SCP? It was in 2009. I can't remember exactly when I first saw references on TV tropes, but it was probably around March or April. In May, I decided to start reading more. And on May 10th, I finally wrote my first article, SCP-423, and posted it to the wiki. So this last Sunday was, in fact, my 17th anniversary on the wiki. How long did it take you to get so well acquainted with staff? Well, it started when I joined. A lot of the big-name staff like Kondraki and Gears hung around and chat. Once I joined staff, I hung around in staff chat. Since then, well, I've been pretty much continuously on staff that entire time. You get to know people pretty well after a while. Favorite articles/articles? SCP-8980, Ergophobia, is a hard read, but it's worth it. It's a good examination of how positional power can intersect with personal biases in a toxic way. SCP-093, the Red Sea Object, I love for what it started. It was the first article on the site with a truly large scope. It was visionary in a time when most articles were just a single weird anomaly. Instead, it spread out into this much greater narrative, and I think it inspired a lot of what's defined articles on the site since. Favorite 1000 series? SCP-5K. Simple idea, but it raises so many questions. It was a perfect answer to the theme of the contest, mystery. Why does the Foundation want to destroy everyone? There are a lot of potential answers. I think the authors even floated one or two. But we'll never truly know. Favorite 001, not including your own? I enjoy keto duty. There's something fun about the idea of tying these different SCPs together and using them to counter each other. Biggest mistake in your time on Wikidot? Oh boy. There are quite a few, but some touch on other people, so I don't want to go with those. I think I'll go with the time I tried to do a fundraiser for Wiki.Pro without consulting the rest of staff. That was a pretty big one. What article would you most want to go back and redo if you were able to? Well, I just actually finished rewriting one. SCP-902. Completely rewritten. It was originally a collaboration with another author who's no longer on the site for various reasons. He did some pretty awful stuff. It was Dr. Bright, if you're familiar with him. I went through and removed everything that he had contributed to the article and basically rewrote it from scratch with another author, Ace Mallard. Uh, Together we managed to get the article into a really nice state, and I'm really proud of it. Of the ones that haven't been rewritten, I think 769 is the one that most needs it. That's the Ancient Encyclopedia. There's a lot I think I can do with that article, but it suffers from being one of my very first. I didn't really understand the format as well as I do now. I've got some notes on it, and eventually it's going to get done, but for now, it's on the pile. If you could choose a successor for your position, who would it be? I think you fundamentally misunderstand my position on the wiki. So, for those that don't know, I'm one of the admins on the wiki. I try not to make a huge point of it here because I'm speaking on my own behalf, not as a staff member. Because I have the master admin account, some people mistake me for being in charge. I'm not. It's not even really a first among equals thing. My position is a purely technical one. I make sure the account is up to date, and that's it. Otherwise, I'm just another one of the admins. I don't have any more prestige or power than anyone else on the admin team. Any one of them could easily replace me, and probably will someday. I've even made sure there are a couple of other people with access to the master admin account in case anything ever happens to me. So, that's my first Q&A. I hope you found it interesting. I probably won't do these every off week, but I thought it'd be a fun thing to do every now and again. Feel free to shriek into the void down below with any further questions, and I might get to them next time. Next week, I'll be doing some reading and reviewing as I dig into a few more obscure articles, ones even I haven't read before. Remember to subscribe if you want to learn more interesting Mann facts. If you'd like to support me in my efforts and to help feed my darling cats, including Little Miss Margaret, whom you saw earlier, consider supporting me on Patreon at patreon.com/drmann. Also linked in the description. A huge shout out to Sunny Clockwork, who provided the art I use for my avatar. And remember, the horrors persist, but we're scarier.